is now 3 minutes past 7 p.m., November 27th, 2018. This is the second to last meeting of the 2018 year. Or second to last. We'll begin with Madam Clerk to call the meeting to order.
Mayor Joseph,
Here.
Councilman Galvin.
Here.
Councilman Bieneme. Vice Mayor Keys.
Here.
Councilman Desorme. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with Pledge of Allegiance conducted by the Officer Benjamin Dahl. Is it Dolly? Yeah, Dolly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would please remain standing while we have Rabbi Lipschitz to please lead us in invocation.
Hello, Mayor, Commissioners. Just briefly, I want to share with you that this week we'll be reading the story of Joseph being sold by his brothers. It's a focus on forgiveness. When Joseph finally does meet his brothers and they need him as the viceroy of Egypt, he focuses on saying that everything that happens to me happens from God. And I'm not going to focus on the servers, but on the master chef. So too, this week we begin Hanukkah, which is the festival of lights, which teaches us we don't get down on our knees and fight with darkness. We just light another candle. And with that, I pray for this meeting and all the governance of North Miami. May we truly find in our heart focus on the master chef, forgiveness for the servers that bring us uncomfortable situations, and may we dedicate our lives to just light another candle in this city, in this amazing city that we have. We don't need to fight darkness, we just need to focus on light. And may that be the guiding force to all the meetings that happen here and tonight, and God bless North Miami.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. This time we'll ask the manager if there is any addition, deletions, amendments to the agenda, so we may proceed.
Just one minor item of notice. On the agenda, on the summary agenda, there was a small correction. In the section after 10B under legislative matters, you will see that it says ordinances second reading, although the items there are only first reading. In the next section, you will see there are in that section also under B two little I, first reading ordinances, there are none. That should have been, the items should have been switched so that the first reading items are listed under there and the second reading items, which are currently under quasi-judicial, should be under second reading. And finally, the only quasi-judicial item is tab I. So we just wanted to put that on the record to make that.
All right. Fair enough.
But there are no changes or additions or omissions.
Okay, so agenda should be considered set at this time, Mr. Attorney, or do we have any other?
One more item, Mayor. For tab I, quasi-judicial, as we discussed, anyone who wishes to speak on those items, please get a speaker card. They're in the back. So we're no longer doing what we normally do, which is have people rise to be sworn in. The cards indicate that they've been sworn in, and only individuals who've signed the cards will be allowed to speak for the quasi-judicial.
Well, my only, I know that you just mentioned it, the one thing that came to my thought is that what cut of time will they have to fill this card out before the start of the meeting?
That's why we're announcing it now. These cards should be filled out before the quasi-judicial item starts.
And we
Or,
did,
or before the quasi-judicial
Yes, once
item,
it
not before
starts.
the meeting starts.
No. Once the item starts, we're collecting cards, and only those cards that we collect will be able to speak.
to put on the record also, Mr. Mayor, we asked CP&D staff to be here a few minutes before the meeting, so they've kind of polled the audience to make
Yeah.
sure individuals are there, so.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. This time we'll have one special presentation by our Councilman Scott Galvin.
Oh, okay. That's only one.
Yeah.
The reason for the little confusion there is because this actually literally came together today on some information that was sent to me overnight. So this is a little bit out of the ordinary because we normally have somebody who we call who receives this type of a proclamation, and we honor them. But in this case, we're honoring somebody who has passed. So there's nobody to come forward tonight, and we'll just present this to the organizations later. Today, 40 years ago today, Supervisor Harvey Milk in the city of San Francisco, one of the first LGBTQ elected officials in the United States of America, was assassinated at City Hall, as was his mayor. And so with 40 years passing, a lot of the LGBTQ elected officials are taking time today to honor this date. Obviously, there are not many across the nation. There are only 600 out of some 60-something thousand. It's less than 0.1% of all elected officials across America are LGBTQ. But the fact that there are this many, 600 plus, 40 years later, is worth noting. So here's a proclamation we're reading in honor of the late supervisor from San Francisco, Harvey Milk. And I put on my reading glasses. Whereas the people of the city of North Miami stand with the LGBTQ community in honoring the life and legacy of San Francisco Supervisor Harvey Bernard Milk on the 40th anniversary of his untimely death. And whereas Harvey Milk approached public service the same way he approached his life, authentically and selflessly, and his election in 1977 as one of the first openly LGBTQ people elected to office in the United States marked an important moment in that political representation, inspiring countless others to follow in his footsteps. And whereas representation is power and our country is at its best when decision-making bodies, city councils, state legislators, the judiciary, and Congress represent the full spectrum of America's diversity, a goal that Harvey Milk strived for every day of his life. Therefore, be it resolved that this body acknowledges that 40 years after his death, Harvey Milk's tireless efforts to improve people's lives through public service not only makes him a trailblazer, but the standard in which all public servants should aspire. In observance thereof, we call upon the city of North Miami, that all of us, the mayor and our city council, hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 27th, 2018 as Harvey Milk Day in the city of North Miami. Thank you.
We'll have Ms. Timothy come forth for city events announcement.
Good evening, Mayor, Council staff, North Miami neighbors, and guests. My name is Cassandra Timothy. I am the Public Information Officer for the City of North Miami, and it is my pleasure to share some of our city's upcoming events and program. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue's free smoke alarm installation program can help keep you safe in your home. 10-year lithium batteries operated alarms will be provided and installed at no cost to qualified Miami-Dade County homeowners. Residents may register in person every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday until December 6th from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the North Miami Police Substation and District 4 Satellite Office, located on 13753 Northwest 7th Avenue. The North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency will celebrate the grand reopening of the Mocha Plaza during a ribbon-cutting ceremony on Wednesday, November 28th at 6 p.m. The Mocha Plaza renovation included installation of new brick pavers, lighting, landscaping, as well as electrical upgrades throughout the plaza. Immediately following the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Santa Claus himself will make his way to the newly renovated Mocha Plaza at Light Up North Miami, scheduled for 6:30 p.m. Celebrate the start of the holiday season at our annual tree lighting ceremony. Enjoy live holiday music and entertainment, festive refreshments, and a fireworks display. Application for the 2019 Leaders in Training program are now available. Application must be submitted by 5 p.m. on Friday, December 28th. The LIT program is for teens interested in building a professional resume. Contact or visit the Community Planning and Development Department for more details. Thursday, November 29th, from 5:30 to 7 p.m., the Police Athletic League of North Miami invites you to a ribbon-cutting ceremony at their new facility located at 12334 West Dixie Highway. POW programs and services will also be showcased. Ashley Pizzotti will take stage as this month's Jazz at Mocha featured artist on Friday, November 30th. These free outdoor concerts, rain or shine, are held on the last Friday of every month at 8 p.m. in the Mocha Plaza. Need a gift idea for the holidays? Then the annual Friends of the Library book sale is a great place to start. It runs from Friday, November 30th through Sunday, December 2nd at the North Miami Public Library. Buy gently used bestsellers, nonfiction, adult and children's book, media, games, and more. North Miami Mayor Dr. Smith Joseph will host the next quarterly business luncheon entitled Smart Cities, Smart Businesses, Upgrading Companies Through Urban Innovation on Tuesday, December 4th from 12 to 2 p.m. at the FIU Coven Center. Registration is available via Eventbrite. The City of North Miami cordially invites you to the 2018 Menorah Lighting Ceremony hosted by Vice Mayor Carol Keys and the Chabad Lubavitch of North Miami on Tuesday, December 4th at 6:30 p.m. in the Mocha Plaza. Join Councilman Alex DeSome for a book signing and Arthur meet and greet with Lisa DePriest, author of Poor Teddy, at the North Miami Library on Friday, December 7th, beginning at 10 a.m. 150 students from area local schools will receive a signed copy of Poor Teddy. Registration for the 2018 Winter Break Camp is now open. Sign up today at the North Miami Parks and Recreation Department. Join the dedicated and talented members of the Sew and Sue's and Crochet Group at the Griffin Community Center on Tuesday, December 12th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. for a showcase of their quilts made with love. North Miami Councilman Philippe Bien-Aimé will host a holiday concert in the park and toy distribution by Santa at Griffin Park on Thursday, December 13th at 6 p.m. Enjoy musical entertainment, live performances, and more. The first meeting of Mayor Smith Joseph Junior Council meeting will take place on Thursday, December 13th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. right here in North Miami City Hall. Haitian Copa Band Class will headline the 2008 Holiday Mixer hosted by Councilman Philippe Bien-Aimé, the Association of Haitian Educators of Dade, and the Haitian American Chamber of Commerce of Florida on Thursday, December 20th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Mocha Paradise Courtyard. This event is sponsored by the Law Office of Andre D. Pierre. North Miami residents are also invited to a farm share food distribution on Thursday, December 27th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the House of Living God, located at 13700 Northeast 10th Avenue. This event is brought to you by Councilman Philippe Bien-Aimé in partnership with the Community Health and Empowerment Network. Stay up to date with the latest happening in our city by visiting www.northmiamifl.gov/connect to connect with NOMI. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Timothy. The next, do we have any hurricane preparedness update? Commander? Season's over?
Good evening, Mayor and
Wow.
Council. Commander Brinson, Emergency Management. No hurricanes at this time, and I'm happy to announce this Friday, November 30th, marks the end of the 2018 hurricane season. So we'll just get ready, start preparing and ramping up for the next June 1st.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We need a motion for consent agenda,
So moved.
Second.
A and B.
I have a motion. I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Keys to approve the consent agenda. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0. Tab B, no, I'm sorry, Tab C, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting and appropriating funds in the amount of $229,000 to be funded in the amount of $125,000 from the Law Enforcement Trust Fund, $31,500 from Federal Equitable Sharing Fund, Justice, and $72,500 from Federal Equitable Sharing Fund, Treasury, and providing for the appropriation and expenditure of those items as set forth in Exhibit A, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That's tab C.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our yearly request for the adoption. I'm sorry, George Manresa, Police Administrator. This is our yearly request for the adoption and appropriation of federal forfeiture funds. You have the amounts there. This will be for fiscal year 18 and 19. Also, as part of our council report, we did, for your perusal, attach the budget, which the first column contains those categories that we would like to fund. Also, the middle column, an explanation of what each of those items and services that we fund from each of the categories, a little explanation of that. And then the final column, a breakdown of the dollar amount by the 3 different forfeiture accounts.
Do we have any input from the manager or for anybody else from staff? No? No. Okay, at this time, we'll open the item to the public for anyone who wishes to be heard on the item. Item C. Public hearing is now open on the item. Public hearing is closed, because I see no one, hear no one.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab C. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0. Tab D, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, opposing and the proposed federal public charge rules changes, providing for transmittal, providing for an effective date, and for all other purposes. Tab D.
Okay. Tab D, this is a resolution that we were asked to prepare by Councilman Galvin and Councilman Desime. Essentially, the federal government is changing the rules regarding aliens and the receipt of benefits. To make a long story short, if a immigrant or an alien resident alien seeks to get any sort of public assistance, it jeopardizes their ability to become a citizen. I can go into a little bit deeper, but that's probably the easiest way to describe it. It just makes it harder for folks who come in who are seeking things like food stamps or other benefits from the government. If you seek those benefits, they can basically deny you citizenship.
So this resolution,
This opposes that.
this opposes that.
Not much we can do about it, Mr. Mayor, but at least the city would stand on record.
How soon will it get to Trump's desk?
He's the one that's proposed it, so it's
I mean,
started at his desk.
our resolution.
Yeah, right, well,
As soon as it's signed off, we'll transmit it per the
Is-
resolution.
We'll open the item to the public at this time for public hearing. Anyone who wishes to be heard, please come forth to the mic. See one, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed.
move approval, Mr. Mayor.
I just hope that's what public hearing is for. Yeah.
I'll withdraw my motion so that we can reopen public hearing.
I ask a lot of questions, but it's just because I want to learn. Can you just explain that to me again, just one last time? What you guys just said. What is, because sometimes like when you read the ballot.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm Ariel Shapiro. Oh, excuse
Yes.
Ariel Shapiro, 990 Northeast 120th Street, Biscayne Park, Miami, Florida.
Okay, thank you.
33161.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just new here. This is my first meeting.
Mhm.
So I just didn't understand the last one. Like, do you say yes for something or no for something? It gets confusing. So one more time.
So
Thank you.
This is a resolution opposing the Trump administration's new policy that would make it more difficult for immigrants to get a path to citizenship. Essentially, if you seek any sort of public assistance, the government can then deny you your request for citizenship.
Public hearing is closed.
I thought that just continued.
Ah, okay.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'd like to support and commend our council for bringing this forth. Thank you, Scott. I think we live in a very, very dangerous time. I think we're probably as dangerous as it's been in more than 120 years or so, going back to the Civil War. And I think if there isn't some ground support for measures like this, I think we keep falling. We keep, in our ignorance, in our neglect, we keep getting closer to the realm of fascism. And I don't say that lightly. And there are way, way too many parallels to how we're aligning with fascism. And I appreciate this gesture and everything that can be done, and to please keep our community on their toes about what has been going on, because before you know it, we get into a position where there's no turning back until things get really, really terminal. So thank you very much, and appreciate your support of this measure.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing is now closed. There was a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab D. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0. Tab E. Proposed ordinance, first reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 21 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Code Compliance to update, organize, and clarify the code compliance process, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date. That's tab E.
Through the mayor, mayor and council, this item is an item that I think, as you know, kind of started through our Clean City initiative several months ago. We started to look at all of our enforcement tools and policies and procedures, and this is the first of a few code amendments that will be coming forth. This one, we have Alex Venezuela here, our outside counsel, who will be here to walk us through the changes. We work with Alex, myself, and our code staff to kind of come up, go through the changes, and we'll just have him put those items on the record.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. The list of changes is in the agenda packet at the end. However, broadly speaking, there are 4 major changes that are intended in this revision of Chapter 21. Initially, it was revised to update the code to either conform to state law or to expand what's in there as allowed by state law. One example is the provision on the service of notices. The other major change was to revise the civil violation ticket procedure, renaming it citations and expanding it so that it can be used in any case of a code violation, not just uncorrectable cases, which is the current code provision. And also, the chapter
Yes.
deletes the county court citations because that procedure was inefficient and never used. And finally, the fines, although the ordinance already allows for the maximum fines permitted by state law, the schedule of civil penalties was never revised to account for that. So this revision would indeed propose doubling those fines in conformity with what's permitted under state law. So if you have any questions, please let me know and I'll try to answer.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you. Let's open it to the public. Did we open the public hearing yet? Okay.
but Mr. Mayor, can I say something before we continue? And how many changes did you make in that? How many?
How many changes? They're
Yes.
listed, I haven't counted them, but these, the list has 15 listed changes, but if you look at the text, there are some revisions that may not have made it to the list because they're not substantively important enough to list out separately.
So you have the list that I passed, the chart that I passed out. In addition, you have all of the changes that are in the fee schedule, so every single item in the code fee schedule was changed.
Can you tell me how much it was and how much it is now?
Individual?
Yes, each of them.
Yeah, they're in the item. You want me to go one by, just want me
You
to
gotta
read
be one by one. Are you telling me that by doing so, we are increasing
We are,
citation fees?
we are increasing citation fees, yes, sir.
How many citation fees?
The maximum allowed for each of our listed citation fees.
Well,
Right?
if I may, the schedule of citation, the schedule of civil penalties that used to belong to the ticket procedure is now in the, it goes with the citations procedure. The penalties are all listed from page 21 to page 28 of the
But the
ordinance.
resident need to know how much will be the citation fee for each of them.
That's for the ones that are
Can you tell me how much it
specifically
was,
listed.
how much it is now? In your
I mean,
proposed.
Generally-
I can
Yeah.
go through each of them. If you want me to read them all into the
Yes,
record, I can.
please.
I'll read them. It is a lot, but he wants me to read them to the record.
That's fee increase that the resident need to know. We cannot pass something and you don't let them know that we are increasing fees
Oh, I
on
don't-
violation. You say it's a lot. That's when
don't-
we should have workshop and
We
let them know
did,
this is
we
what's
did,
coming.
we did. The reason why we held it the last time is because we got a request to do workshops. So we've done public meetings and we've gone through.
In
this,
regards to fee
yes,
increase?
Yes, absolutely, sir.
Where?
Well, this actually, remember, if you recall.
Where
this
and
item-
when?
I'll go back to the record, I'll go back to our meetings, but we went
Okay, can
to-
someone answer that question? You have code compliance. When you have workshop, I don't remember seeing workshop about
Yeah, we-
fee increase on citation.
We
backward
attended,
enforcement.
we attended the homeowners association meetings. This item, if you recall, was brought initially around April, and was because of that concern, we held it, went out to the public and had those meetings, and
And
that's
they
why
said
we're
they're
coming
okay?
back. We
Based
have
on the
gotten-
feedback you had?
The feedback we have is, they were fine. They were appreciative of us going after some of these fee increases. In fact, one of the major ones was this issue of the Airbnbs and our inability to effectively,
Okay, that's one, but
Okay.
can you give me a list of?
yeah, I'll read them into the record if you
please.
would like. So if you go to,
The
table,
first one.
table inset, 4-7, no animal kept, harbored, maintained, or possessed by any person in the city shall be permitted to run at large or to remain in open public or private property. That that penalty previously was $100 and now it's $200.
What it is exactly?
The fee now,
No, what it is exactly?
I just read it into the record.
People would like to understand it. It's a change of law. They need to know exactly what it is. From
We're going to be
100
here
to
all night. I'll
200.
move to continue this item so that you can have an outside conversation with Mr.
Yeah.
Bieneme and bring it back. If not, more town hall meetings are in order. Move to
Yeah.
continue.
But you cannot increase fee on people without telling them that we are doing so.
I'll be honest, if they're violating the code, one of the biggest things I hear about the city is the streets are too dirty, things don't look nice, we need to bring things up. By increasing our fines on people, we're fining the people who are violating. We're not fining the people who are keeping their houses nice. I was ready to vote in favor of it this evening, but out of,
But at the same time, Councilman Galvin, you know, the administration need to do its job also. Sometimes you find the medians dirty, and when you ask who's responsible to clean up the medians, nobody knows who.
Yeah,
Medians-
it's
Those
always
things-
public works.
So I'll move to
But
continue
sometimes you
this
say
item.
public works, they say no, it's parks. Sometimes they say it's public works.
But
It's,
Well, I agree. that
when
it's
I
hard
keep
to tell
calling,
in-house.
that happen all the time.
I'll move to continue this. If we don't want to continue it, I'm ready to let him read
I
everything into the
would
item.
second that, because this is
I
the
would.
item that I had a couple questions on some of the fines that no longer exist. I believe this is our conversation. This, on the back page is where they have the fines, and we're talking about pit bulls, we're talking about 1-ton trucks. We've changed that to 1.5. We've allowed pit bulls, so we need to go back and clean this up before we do first reading.
I think people need to know exactly.
Are we going to continue to have more town hall meetings or what?
I'll
Are we
move-
going, huh?
Well,
Here's my motion. I move to continue this for an indefinite period until staff has the opportunity to talk to council, answer questions.
Yes,
If
okay.
necessary,
We'll have more
host
town
any
hall
more
meetings.
town hall meetings, and then bring back, I'm not saying do all that in the next 2 weeks or
I got
before we
you.
go on our holiday break. So move to continue indefinitely until staff feels it's time to bring it back.
At which time we won't have to go and read every single ones during the
Hopefully by
meeting.
then we can answer
Yeah.
Well,
everybody's questions.
Okay.
These items are published, except for a couple, little bit of cleanup. I think people who are really interested should get online and take a look at it and see if there's anything that they don't like, so they can call us, email us and say, I don't like that. I think
Make
doing
it
a town hall
available
meeting
online,
is
the
not gonna
it is,
really do it.
the changes, so for
We're
the
not talking
record.
about
Yeah,
Okay,
my
there
motion to continue
there is
is
a
there, Mr.
motion, and we need a second. There is a motion
And a second.
and a second.
All right, I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to continue the item and definitely until staff could provide clarity. That motion was seconded by.
And make
Vice-
every effort to meet with Councilman Bien-Aimé to clarify him on the
And
items.
make every effort to meet with
I said
Councilman.
it on record.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
All opposed?
Just
We're
for
gonna-
the, I just want to clarify one thing for the record. And to correct something that was stated. This item has been properly noticed and posted with the full list of all of the changes, as well as we've met with most of the homeowners associations and had these meetings. I don't have the exact dates, so I wanted to put that on the record. That's how we went around and did that. We'll gladly do it. We'll gladly do it again, and we'll make sure we get.
Yeah, but understand, when you go to some homeowners meeting, it's only 2-3 people. It's
I
not,
understand,
mean-
but that's what I'm saying, we did that over, that's why we've had several discussions
But I
over
don't see-
several months.
You don't use, you have channel 77, you don't use it, it's not there.
Item F.
Gonna
I
go
just have
on.
communication.
Okay.
We are
That
this
with
like
everybody.
crazy.
F-
Make a
We're
real
gonna go
serious
on,
presentation at the
Frank.
next time, but let's not
Roll call.
hash it out tonight, because we're continuing it.
We're gonna go on roll call. Council.
You said we already.
That was E, right?
That was E as an elephant.
No, F is quasi judicial.
No,
No.
No?
I made the correction.
It's not?
This is, F is going to be a second reading
Okay,
item.
not a quasi, okay.
Proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulation by amending Article 5, Division 14, entitled Parking and Loading, specifically at Section 5-1402, entitled Schedule of Required Parking, to adjust the parking ratio requirement from 0.5 to 1 parking space for elderly housing, providing for repeal, conflict severability, correction of scrivener's errors, codification, and for an effective date. That's tab F.
No, this is parking.
Madam Vice Mayor, you're in charge.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. For the record, Tanya Wilson Sejour, Director of Community Planning and Development. This is second reading of a text amendment that was brought before you on October 23rd. This is a request for an amendment to the LDR to adjust the parking ratio for the elderly housing from 0.5 to 1 space per dwelling unit. The item passed unanimously at a vote of 5-0. Staff is just requesting approval on second reading at this time. On first reading, there was a request to add a provision that a restrictive covenant be required and that for the elderly housing, there be a stipulation that 100% of those units be for 55 years and older. That's been adjusted in the ordinance. Staff is requesting approval for second reading at this time.
Mr. Mayor, we can open the public hearing.
Oh, public hearing is now open on the item F as in Frank.
Good evening, Council. My name is Robert Houston. I live at 1150 Northeast 123rd Street, and I would like to voice my support for this amendment. I have seen buildings in the city of Miami where they designated a half a parking space because of elderly housing or because of low-income housing, and it tends to have a spillover effect into the residential areas around it. By having a one designated parking space per unit, you avoid having a spillover effect into the neighborhood. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open on the item, but I see none, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab F. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Key. By Vice Mayor Keys, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're gonna go on roll call.
Hmm?
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
For which one?
For tab F.
Oh. Go ahead.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Galvin, how do you
Yes.
vote? Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes 4-0. Tab G, proposed ordinance second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulation by amending Article 2, Decision Making and Administrative Bodies at Division 7 entitled Development Review Committee, specifically at Section 2-701 entitled Powers and Duties, to remove the requirement that after Development Review Committee approval, the City Council will review projects over 5,000 square feet, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, codification, and for an effective date. That's tab G.
Thank you. For the record again, Tanya Wilson Sejour with Community Planning and Development. This again is a text amendment to the city's land development regulations. It's also a second reading. The request was sponsored by Mayor Smith Joseph. The original request was for the removal of site plans to be reviewed by City Council that are 5,000 square feet in size. At first reading, City Council instead requested that that threshold be set at 20,000 square feet in size. Staff has no objections to this amendment to the ordinance and is requesting approval for this text amendment on second reading at this time.
Okay, public hearing is open on the item G as in good.
Good evening. Valerie Holt, 1050 Northeast 122nd Street. I'm a little confused, a clarification on that. The council will not hear development that's under 5,000 square feet and only hear development that's over 20,000 square feet? I would just like a clarification. I'm not sure if I understood that correctly.
Well, for final approval, that is.
Anything over 20,000, we're gonna review it.
That will go before the council?
Yes.
Anything under that just goes before the planning commission?
Whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted was a clarification. I just want, thank you.
Public hearing is now closed.
Everybody breathe a sigh of relief right now. Councilman De Sulma is here.
Public hearing is closed. Well, now you're back on the dais. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
A quick question.
Remove my motion.
Mr. It's for the city attorney. After we pass the first reading and we change it to 20,000, shouldn't we publicize it, the amend the way it was approved first, or we keep it that way and then we change it after the resolution passed?
The advertisement should have read 20,000 when it was, well, we advertised it the first time, the second, it was advertised the first time.
For 5,000.
For 5,000.
When we pass it at the first reading.
I'm not sure we even
to
advertised it.
20,000.
I don't think we advertised it in the paper for the second,
Should
other
we
than,
do that?
other than the normal advertisement.
I don't think the size
It
is
should,
public.
yeah, it should have said 20,000. It's 20,000 in the body of the ordinance. I believe the title was incorrect. There's a scrivener's error in the title.
That's when it should be changed. It should be 20,000.
You're voting on 20,000 as you changed it from the first
Yeah,
reading.
but the one you publicize, the second reading, say 5,000.
I haven't seen the advertisement.
Says 5.
I'm talking about the legality of that. If we pass the first reading, we change it.
The notice is to give people notice of what we're voting on. Whether it's 5,000 or 20,000, I mean, you get the gist of what the vote
But next
is.
time, when we...
It's a scrivener's error. It should have been changed to 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that Mr. Manager you take notes about that.
So
You don't even know what we're talking
The
about.
motion.
We'll make sure it's
Change, sir. We'll make sure.
After the first reading,
Yes,
if
sir.
we change
We'll
anything,
make sure that
when we're going to do the second reading, we need to change it.
We need a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab G. That motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme.
With a slight correction from 5,000 to 20,000 square feet.
Okay. As stated on record by Mayor Joseph. All in favor?
It's a,
It's an ordinance.
Councilman, Councilman Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councilman Desulme, how do you vote?
What you mean?
Item passes
You wasn't there last council?
4-1. Tab H, proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulations by amending chapter 7 definitions, providing for repeal, codification, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and for an effective date.
Before we go forward, I believe Mr. Councilman Desulme would like to reconsider his vote on the last item.
Well, clarification. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I came in, I didn't know which item was being discussed. What was the
G as in God?
yeah, the G. So this is the text amendment regarding if the
If a
something
project,
more-
if a project is
20
less than
This
20,000.
is for the design review
Oh,
committee.
okay.
That ends with the council. You had previously, you were
Got
concerned
it.
about the size of those projects. You modified 5,000 to 20,000.
Oh, okay.
But they'll still be coming to the council for review.
Okay,
at
that's
the new
fine.
size.
Madam Clerk, you could amend my vote as to, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So for the record, tab G passes with a 5-0 vote.
Back to H. She's already read it.
Have you read the title?
Yes.
Okay, for the record again, Tanya Wilson Sejour. This third text amendment is an ordinance requesting for amendment to Article 7 of the city's land development regulations. That's the section of your code that houses the definitions. This item passed on first reading by a vote of 4-0. Staff is requesting approval at this time. As mentioned in The title is just an update of that section to remove any errors, any omissions, to include new definitions for things like breweries that we currently don't have in the code, also marijuana dispensaries and centers. It's really just a general update of that section of your code. So staff is requesting approval of Article 7 of the LDRs at this time.
All right, at this time, we'll open the item for the public to have the opportunity to be heard. Item tab H, as in Harry, is open for public hearing. Yes.
Good evening, Alina Medina.
You can go to the next mic.
1270 Northeast, 124th Street.
Mhm.
Can you explain exactly what is this? So everybody understands really what's the issue.
Mrs. Zhu, can you read it again? Can you explain it
I mean, I
again?
can read what's here, but it doesn't really, I'm sure the majority of the people that are here don't really understand what exactly is the issue.
Give her the opportunity to come
details.
back to
Well,
the mic.
let's let everybody ask their
give-
questions
yeah.
so that she,
I'm so
maybe,
sorry.
so that she doesn't have to.
Well, I don't know.
So Article 7 of your land development regulations contains the definition. So every single use within your code, for example, I mentioned before your breweries, that should be defined in your code. It's literally like the glossary or the dictionary of your code that explains everything from A to Z, it's labeled. So for this amendment, we're requesting for new uses to be added that are obsolete in your code, that are not mentioned. Things like brewery. If you have someone coming in requesting to build a brewery in your city, if it's not defined in your code, it's ambiguous. Oftentimes, it's a prohibition. So this is to create clarity within your code. If there are things that are described, for instance, a tattoo parlor is described as a problematic use. We know that that doesn't comport with federal law. It's freedom of speech, so you can't have something like that in your code. So that's being stricken. So it's an update of that section of your code to create clarity, to make sure there are no ambiguities within your code. Is that clear?
Mr. Mayor, through you to Ms. Sejour, you mentioned marijuana dispensaries.
Correct. That's one that's added.
Tell us what that means.
So let's read the definition.
In layman's
actually
terms,
there.
let's put aside the
So, all right, so I won't read it word for word.
Right.
So the essence is that state law now allows for a marijuana dispensary to be located within your city. North Miami's code is silent. It has no definition for what that is. So if Trulieve or another entity comes in to create a marijuana dispensary, creating that definition now allows them to be able to have the use created within our M1 industrial districts. State law said it has to be treated like a pharmacy. So we're making sure that the code is now consistent with state law. We don't run into any issues where we could be sued because our code is not keeping up with the current trends of what land use law allows.
Well, that was the second. Did you have one more question?
No. I was saying years ago, literally, update our codes to address medical marijuana. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
And it came.
I'm glad it's taken about 4 years, but we're here.
We are.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, again, my name again?
Yes.
Okay.
Name and address.
Yes, my name is Ariel Shapiro, and I live at 990 Northeast 120th Street.
And now your date of birth.
January 2nd, 1983. My birthday's coming. You know where my address is. All right, guys. I apologize again. Yeah, I apologize. I just wanted to thank you for reading that. And, yeah, I was confused about that article. But I hope we're all voting for a medical marijuana dispensary in the neighborhood. That's it.
Hi, Ileana Alban, 849 Northeast 121st Street. And I had a question if they were changing anything related to assisted living facilities in that Article 7.
Is that answer no? I saw a couple heads shake from staff. Is that answer no, or is that?
It's not
It's
there.
not there.
Public hearing is still open on the item. See none, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab H. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys.
I have a question, if you'll allow me, before I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Is it specific, Mr. Jor, where these location could go, or are we, by law, have to treat them like the CVS or the Walgreens?
Right, you can't,
From
you
my
can't, right, you can't treat them any
That's
differently.
correct. By state law, you have to treat it as a pharmacy, because of
No.
course it's for folks that have a prescription, that have been authorized to receive this type of medicinal treatment. So you have to put them on the same footing as you would.
No,
Marijuana
yeah.
is legal, y'all.
No, I'm a component of that, Councilman. It's just, I'm not too big of where they actually go. But is there, my question is, are we allowing them, or within the state charter, which supersede our charter, like near schools? Because there is one that I see popped up in my area. It's not too far from a school, and
You
I'm
already got
concerned
one?
about that. Yeah.
But
It's
the thing is,
so
it's legal for medicinal, pills are being sold near our schools
It's a
too.
pharmacy.
It's a
But
pharmacy.
Treat it
Right,
as a
it's,
pharmacy.
so
Okay.
kids
You
are,
can put
you
a
can't sell the
pharmacy
medical marijuana to kids any more than you could sell the ibuprofen or OxyContin to
Yeah.
kids. You have to have a prescription from a doctor. So we can't get all puritanical about things now because it's legal.
No, I'm not asking about the
So,
illegal.
just to kind of give some detail to you, Councilman DeSume, the state in their last two sessions, I believe, passed preemptive.
Yes, I know.
Constitutional language or statutory language that prevented any county municipalities from
Regulated.
Regulating
doing
them.
From-
any further
yeah.
So what-
regulation.
Okay.
So, and stated that they
Yeah.
have to be treated
It's
like
pure- it's pure
CVS,
state law,
Walgreens
yeah.
pharmacy.
Okay.
All right,
All right, we're gonna go on a vote. Councilman Desume, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
yay.
Item passes 5-0. Tab I, propose, oh. Do I have to say? Okay. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving an application for conditional use permit in substantially the attached form, allocating 175 residential units from the primary pool of 2,438 remaining floating residential unit and 59,326 square feet from the pool of 750,000 square feet for non-residential use reserved for use within the neighborhood redevelopment overlay NRO district for a proposed mixed-use development featuring a 7-story, 40 units senior residential apartment building and a 10-story, 135 unit senior residential apartment building with retail space, a 3-story, 70-bed adult living facility, ALF, and a 5-level parking garage on the 1.9 acres real property, generally located at 950 Northeast 124th Street, and specifically identified with Miami-Dade County folio number 06-2230-040-0020, in accordance with Article 4, Division 4, Section 4-205B and Section 4-305, and Article 3, Division 4, Section 3-302 through 3-407 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulation, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Through the mayor, just to make sure, have we collected all cards for any speakers on this item? Are there any remaining cards? Thank you.
Thank you for the record. Tanya Wilson Sejour with the Community Planning and Development Department. This is a request for an approval of a resolution, and it's a request for a conditional use permit approval for the allocation of 175 units over 59,000 square feet non-residential use from the Neighborhood Redevelopment Overlay District. The property address again is 950 Northeast 124th Street. The property is zoned public use, and it also has a land use designation of community facility. I want to point out that even though the property is zoned public use, this is a privately owned property. The site itself is consisting of 1.95 acres in size. That's over 84,000 square feet in size. And again, it's located within the Neighborhood Redevelopment Overlay District. Because it is located within the NRO, as the council is aware, this project is allowed to have mixed use. So it has a density within the NRO that's allowed for 90 dwelling units per acre. So the request before you for the 175 is activated because the property is located within the NRO district. I'm going to walk the council and the public through just a bird's eye view of the proposal for this conditional use permit. So the applicant is requesting 175 elderly housing units. The project is contemplated to have 5 levels of a parking garage. 230 spaces in total are being proposed. It's also contemplated as a 70-unit adult living facility. That structure itself will be 3 stories in height. There's 9,232 ground floor retail. About 4,000 of that is actually expected to be for restaurant use. And the architect is going to go into more details within the project specifics itself, but it includes a therapy garden. It also has a pool that's contemplated and a covered fitness area. There's also a 35 feet wide landscape park that's being contemplated and a promenade that's proposed for public use and also public art with underground utilities. The project itself is also proposed for LEED certification. We know with every new construction within the city's LDR requires that those projects be either LEED certified or a comparable program. So we know that this is a sustainable project. Looking at the project benefits themselves, I want to pull out a few things from the staff report in terms of the anticipated benefits. We're anticipating, based on the economic analysis, that 239 short-term construction jobs would be generated from this project. There's also 1.7 million in permit and impact fees anticipated. In terms of the ad valorem tax that's anticipated, it's over 890,000 in annual ad valorem taxes that are anticipated to be generated from this project. There's also a 25,000 square feet public assembly space that would be created as a part of this project. So in terms of the next steps, if approved tonight, this conditional use permit would also have to go before the DRC in the form of a site plan for DRC review. Based on the ordinance that was approved before, that would actually require this site plan to come back before City Council after it receives DRC review. So the council will see the project again at the site plan stage. If approved tonight, the permit is good for 18 months based on your land development regulations. And it's also required to have a restrictive covenant. So all the things that are proposed, from public art to public place of assembly to the age restriction, everything that has been listed within the restrictive covenant will run with the land and the life of the project itself. So staff is going to allow the architect to make a formal presentation, or the attorney, at this time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Mr. Manager, Mr. City Attorney. My name is John Della Gloria. My office is at 1065 Northeast 125th Street. I am sure you all recognize that this has been before you on several occasions, and everything that is going to be said has been said. We have held, at the behest of Councilman DeSalme recently, but prior to that, we've held 4 public meetings. I believe this item has been presented to you on a couple of occasions. And I appreciate and thank the city attorney. I'm sure it was the city attorney who put out the little pamphlet up front regarding quasi-judicial procedures. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. And in order to receive approval, we need to have a presentation of substantial and competent evidence. The one thing I want to mention is that we are allowed the right to cross-examination. I'm going to use that, hopefully not at all, if at all, sparingly and as politely as I can, which I will do.
You have to be polite.
Absolutely. And as I say, it'll just be used sparingly. This evening, as Tanya indicated, Mr. Frankel, who has been here before, will be presenting that portion of the project that is part of what is your resolution tonight. Again, I would like you to almost have like laser focus on what is in front of you. The only thing in front of you is pulling down from the pool of residential uses and retail uses what is not in front of you tonight, but which will be part of future procedures, will be issues like landscaping, art in public places, whatever the other considerations are. But tonight, it is just that you're going to be reviewing. One question I have of the city attorney is regarding the quasi-judicial cross-examination rights. I believe we're entitled to cross-examine, if necessary, after that speaker has spoken, not at the end, because nothing guarantees that the speaker is going to stick around after speaking. And if your decision is that the cross-examination occurs at the end, then I'm going to ask for all those comments to be stricken from the record, because I will not have the right to cross-examine. So that's my issue. I'll wait if you want to think about that for a minute, Jeff.
It's not really my decision. I'd have to pull up the code section, but the code section talks about quasi-judicial procedures, and
Yes.
it lists how the procedures goes.
Yes.
And it talks about individuals making their case, and
Right.
then afterwards. So it's not my call. It's what it's what our code says.
And that's why I'm saying that I'm going to specifically ask for those comments to be stricken if the people are not available for cross-examination.
Anyone who speaks should remain so that they can be cross-examined at
Thank
the
you.
appropriate time.
Before Mr. Frankel gives his presentation, I just wanted to advise that the developers, Mr. Mo Yagubi and Mr. Marcelo Tenenbaum, are here. And as I pointed out once before, these developers have a real commitment to the community. They have developed in the Highland in North Miami Beach, and they are also the first entity that has purchased property in what is going to be hopefully a very successful Chinatown district. So these are not developers who are here. They're going to build a building, they're going to make money, and they're going to wish you the best and hope that things don't change. Unless the council has any questions for me, and one thing, Jeff, I will be asking questions of Ms. Wilson Sejour. I don't know if you want me to do that.
We
at the end
can't. We
also.
cannot have two meetings at the same time, please. So let the gentleman speak.
I'll
so we
speak.
can-
I'll
Yeah, I mean,
address that at the end.
Pulled up the code section. So
Mhm.
under
Right.
quasi-judicial procedures, just so everyone understands, it lists the order of presentation. Order of presentation is disclosure of ex parte communications, which we missed, and
Right.
personal investigations pursuant to subsection C below. Presentation by city staff, presentation by the applicant, then public comment, then examination by city staff, which we can do,
Mhm.
cross-examination by the applicant, cross-examination by decision-making body, rebuttal by the applicant, closing of public hearing, discussion among members of the decision-making body, motion by decision-making body with explanation of position, and an action by a decision-making body. And so it's delineated in our code, so it's not my decision, it's just what the code says.
And that's fine. And again, I appreciate your asking those who speak to remain. Thank you.
Now, let's have the presentation, please. So who's going to present? All right, let's do it.
I'm going to start. Thank you. Happy holiday, everyone. And thank you for hearing us again. Tanya gave a pretty good summary of the project. You've all been familiar with it. You all have your packages. I imagine you had a chance to look them over and see the drawings. So I will just review a few of them for you. And if you have any questions about any details, we'd be happy to answer them. The first thing we want to tell you is that this project is a result of a collaborative design process, and we're grateful for that because it's been 2.5 years in the making. Most of you were all here, and we were here back 2.5, almost January of 2015 is when we started it, I believe. We had many meetings with the city planners, and they were really very rewarding meetings in the sense that it helped the project to evolve. And over that 2.5-year period, as I said, we met with the past planners and the present planners, currently with Debbie Love and Tanya Wilson Sejour, and their input was immeasurable. It was very astute, very insightful planning concepts, and even design concepts all helped shape the project. And that all was involved with the process of the NRO, which took place about 1.5 years ago, the approval of that, the zoning modifications, which took place, the LDR hearings, which took place, the planning commission meeting, which we had, and then the LDRs resulted in some of the current plans that were actually developed early part of 2018. And after May, we understood that the LDRs changed again with some new parking requirements. So the end result, it was a very collaborative process. In addition to the planning process with the planners and staff, we had 4 important meetings with the neighbors. The first one took place at the manager's office about 2 years ago. We then had 2 in 2017 at the Gwen Margolis Center, where we invited the neighbors, and they came and gave their input and suggestions and recommendations, many of which were very astute and very good, and many of which we responded to. We then had a 4th meeting at the result of the last council meeting. Some council members suggested that we meet with the neighbors again, so we held it at the Griffin Center on November 8th, just 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. And that was a very good meeting. So all of these sessions, as I said, resulted in suggestions, recommendations, good design changes that were better for the project, and it improved our submissions for the CUP submission and the approval that you're looking at today. And the results of those meetings will also be a benefit when we go into the DRC process, the Design Review Committee, and then back to the Planning Commission, as John mentioned, and then back to the council for the final approval. To sum the latest revisions since we submitted in May, we had 3 important changes, the results of these meetings. The first one was that it was expressed at your council meeting a few meetings ago that the neighbors felt the 6-story buildings, but we had 2 6-story buildings on 123rd Street, which were ALF facilities, and that they were too massive, out of scale with the neighborhood on south of 123rd Street. We now have 2 3-story buildings along there. The renderings are in your packet. There's one up on the board there as well, which, Gladys, it's on the floor. Perhaps we could put that up. But the whole emphasis of those 3D images are that it's now a scale that's prevalent in the neighborhood. Across the street, on the south side of 123rd Street, you have R5 and R2 zoning. R5 multifamily allows up to 75-foot height, and the R2 allows up to 35-foot height. We've chose to make these buildings on 123rd Street only 32 feet in height, and to put them behind a deep urban promenade plaza that meanders along as you see in that rendering, on 123rd Street that's 55 feet wide from the buildings to the curb. So we're also including the right-of-way there, and we're improving the right-of-way, so that the end result of this project is that all three right-of-ways are greatly enhanced, and they become pedestrian promenades on 123rd, pedestrian and urban plazas on 10th Avenue, and the same on 124th Street. Okay, the stepping of the buildings gradually increase in height from 123rd along 10th Avenue. They go up to a 7-story building, which is 6 stories of apartments, and then recreational amenities above the apartments. And then on 124th Street, it reaches the full urban scale, the highest density of a maximum of 10 stories. The NRO, which encompasses this site, allows 55 feet on the south half of the property and 110 feet on the north. So we're holding it down to 32 feet on the south and about 95 feet on the north. So that's a major change. The second important change was that one of the neighbors at the last meeting suggested we had 2 driveways on 10th Avenue that kind of entered the ground floor of the parking garage. As Tanya mentioned, there's a 5-story parking garage with 230 spaces in it. The required LDRs and zoning require 207, so we have an extra 23 spaces. But that garage is 5 stories. The building in front of it on 10th Avenue is 7 stories, and then the ultimate building on 124th is 10 stories. The neighbor suggested we don't have traffic coming in on 10th Avenue, so we made that significant change, and all our cars, all the vehicles entering that garage come in on 124th Street. The major street that feeds them, of course, is 125th, and it comes down on the 3 avenues, 8th, 9th, and 10th, to 124th. So all our access to the parking is on 124th. We only have one small exit now on 10th Avenue, and that's primarily for the ALF drop-off and the ALF facility to exit on 10th Avenue. But we're maintaining that that should be a northbound exit, so you can only make a left turn on 10th Avenue and head north back to 125th Street. So the end result is no traffic of this building, of this mixed-use development, should enter 123rd Street. Okay, so that was a very important change, which we thought it was a great suggestion by the neighbor. The last item was that the building complies in every regard with the zoning ordinance, the LDRs, and the bonus provisions that allow this density. We've committed to that. I think in the staff report that you probably read, it indicates that we comply in every regard with the zoning and the LDRs that provide the density for 90 units an acre, which results in 175 apartments. That's pretty much what sums up the changes. I'd like to walk you through and show you the site plan and a few important plans and renderings, and you can ask me any questions about the project.
What's going on, Mr. Manager? Are we?
Test.
Get who? We have a microphone here.
Test.
Yeah. Let's not delay the process any longer, guys. This is a meeting. This is not a. We gotta get going. We're wasting too much time here.
All right, is this
Okay.
this on? You hear me?
Yep.
Okay, we separated.
I'm
the
not- I'm
boards
not
just
here
so
for
the
all of that
neighbors and
tonight.
has good, clear visibility to the podium. The first board here on the right is your site plan, and it's very clear that we have 3 streets surrounding the site: the north 124th, on the east 10th Avenue, and the bottom south 123rd. And we've dedicated those areas as pedestrian open space. If you total it all up, it's about 26,000 square feet of space, and it's all going to be enhanced mainly by the existing trees that I'll show you, by the way. This is a sample of the trees on 123rd Street. We're saving all of them. They're oak trees, very large. Some of them are 40 foot in height or even greater, and they create a fantastic canopy along 123rd. And this is the same view on 10th Avenue. I'm sorry. This is also looking down 123rd Street westbound. So you see it's a huge canopy of oak trees and one or two black olive trees. There's a few more like that that we have on 10th Avenue. See if we can find that, the 10th Avenue. Okay, but the plan elements are essentially a 3-story building along 123rd Street, which is the ALF facility. Another thing that the neighbors requested was to move the lobby, which we had central to the block, to the corner. That was the third item. So we literally moved the lobby of the ALF right to the corner of 10th Avenue and 123rd Street, and allowing just a big open lounge in the middle of the building on every floor that looks out to the landscape of 123rd and to the landscape behind the building.
Mr. Mann, what are we voting on tonight? Because I'm losing. I'm going to be voting and I'm losing sight of everything. I'm lost and I don't know where am I. So maybe it's because I'm hungry. I don't know. Because we've had this presentation before.
Yes, you have, sir. So
Yeah.
you're simply you're simply voting on the allocation of units in the NRO.
Okay. So we don't need all of this presentation that we're getting here.
Procedural.
We are voting on allocating units, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to be voting on the
Okay.
design. So we don't need the
If
design.
you have any questions about where
Yeah.
the density is, it's
Yes.
on these plans, and you have it in your packet. The only other items were the images showing the building on all 3 sides to the public.
Mhm. All right, so we go to public now?
Are you done with the presentation?
Huh?
Yeah, okay. Yes, Mayor, we open to public comment. Just so the record is clear, anyone who's going to speak should have signed one of these speaker
One of these cards, so
one of
far
these-
I have about 21 of
Okay,
them.
one of the speaker cards. This one's not signed. It should be signed. We're not swearing anyone in. This attests that you have been sworn in, so anyone speaking is still under oath.
Ask
even-
the person to sign it. Hmm? Yeah, if you want to go ahead before I open the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, Mr.
And how
con-
you proceed is up to you, Mayor.
Well-
They can either come up as you normally would, and you just check them on the card, or you can call their names, whichever.
Yeah,
way
I'll
you
call
wanna
their
proceed.
names and then they'll come to the mic. Yeah. But go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, if you allow me to make a quick statement, because I know either the attorney or someone had mentioned my name. I had asked for this item to be deferred upon. I understand all of the, I guess, procedures and what's been going on behind closed door. Out of this disclosure, I have not met with nobody, absolutely no one, since a couple months ago. In fact, the only communication that I had with the representative of the client, which is Mr. De La Gloria, she had sent me some emails, but it wasn't in reference to other stuff, was through the city manager. So just so we know we don't waste time, I am supportive of development. However, what I had asked before, and I don't want to waste people's time tonight, in order for me to be voting yes for this project, I understand the legality of it, I understand what staff has done, but what I said, and I'm gonna say it again, in order for me to be a yes, I need to have the equal number of residents, and I understand that the client did meet with the community, which is great. I totally applaud that. That's coming. If I have, out of the 20 people you have, Mr. Mayor, all of them are against it, I'm also going to be against it. So that's all, and that's where I am, and because I don't want to waste time. So we need to have community. That was my biggest thing. So that if that's why I am tonight, so I just.
So with that, we have to open public.
Mr. Attorney, are you
public-
going to address that comment?
With that, I have to open public hearing. Let's hear what the public have to say, because that's.
Mr. Mayor, I
that's-
apologize
Yeah.
for this.
Mm.
I need to advise you now,
Mm.
and I'm sure your city attorney will give you the same advice.
Mhm.
If that's the position of this council, that you're going
This
to.
council has not spoken.
Mr.
The
Sommer,
no, no, but I cannot allow you to continue with that line of talking because
Fine,
the
I'll do it
council
later.
has not
I-
voted.
I will do it later.
Okay, thank you. Mr. William Prevotel, you have your 2 minutes.
Thank you.